When we look at an ancient city today, we often see ruins. Broken walls, empty streets, stone foundations, gates that no longer protect anything, temples without worshippers, markets without voices. But when these cities were alive, they were not silent monuments. They were working systems. An ancient city was not just a place where people lived. It was a way of organizing survival, labor, belief, trade, defense, and power in one concentrated space. To understand ancient cities properly, it helps to stop seeing them only as old buildings. A clearer way to look at them is this. An ancient city was a machine of civilization. Not a machine made of metal, but a social machine. A place where food came in, water had to be controlled, goods moved, workers specialized, rulers administered, people worshipped, and walls protected the whole system. That is why ancient cities matter. They show us how human society became more complex. Before cities, many communities were smaller and more directly connected to farming, herding, hunting, or local survival. But once people began living in larger permanent settlements, something changed. A city needed more than houses. It needed a food system. This is one of the most important starting points. A large number of people cannot live together in one place unless food can be produced, stored, moved, and distributed. Ancient cities depended on surrounding farmland, river valleys, irrigation systems, animal labor, granaries, and storage practices. The city itself was rarely separate from the land around it. The walls may have marked the urban space, but the city's life stretched outward into fields, canals, orchards, grazing land, and villages. This is why agricultural surplus matters so much. If every person has to spend all their time producing food, then there is little room for full-time builders, priests, potters, metalworkers, merchants, soldiers, scribes, or rulers. But when a society can produce more food than it immediately consumes, that surplus can support people who do other work. That is where the city begins to become more than a settlement. Inside the city, some people could make tools. Some could shape pottery. Some could build walls. Some could record goods. Some could organize rituals. Some could trade. Some could govern. So the first hidden layer of an ancient city is not stone. It is food. Without food surplus, the city cannot keep breathing. The second layer is water. Water was not only for drinking. It shaped where cities could grow, how agriculture could expand, how waste could move, how people washed, how animals survived, and how trade might connect through rivers or canals. Many ancient cities grew near rivers, lakes, springs, or coastlines because water was a foundation of settlement. But water also had to be managed. Too little water meant hunger, drought, and decline. Too much water could mean flooding, disease, erosion, or destruction. That is why many ancient urban systems developed wells, canals, reservoirs, drains, moats, aqueducts, or irrigation networks depending on the place and period. A city was never only the buildings above ground. It also depended on the invisible logic of water movement. If water failed, the city became fragile. The third layer is movement. An ancient city was a place where things moved in and out. Grain moved in from fields. Animals moved through gates. Clay, timber, stone, metal, cloth, spices, tools, and luxury goods moved along roads, rivers, ports, and caravan routes. Some goods were used locally. Some were stored. Some were taxed. Some were exchanged. Some were sent onward. This made markets and trade spaces important. But trade was not only about buying and selling. It also connected the city to a wider world. A city that controlled a good river crossing, a port, a caravan route, a fertile plain, or a strategic pass could become more powerful because movement gave it access. Access to goods, access to people, access to information, access to wealth. This is why city gates mattered. A gate was not just an opening in a wall. It was a control point. Who enters? What goods come in? What is taxed? What is inspected? What is allowed to leave? The city gate was part of the trade system the defense system, and the political system at the same time. The fourth layer is work. One of the things that makes cities different from small settlements is specialization. In a smaller village, many people may do similar kinds of survival work. But in a city, different roles can become more defined. There may be builders, potters, metalworkers, weavers, merchants, priests, scribes, soldiers, administrators, laborers, and farmers connected to the city from outside its walls. This specialization made cities productive, but also more dependent on organization. A potter needs clay, fuel, tools, and customers. A metalworker needs, or metal supply, heat, skill, and exchange networks. A scribe needs a system that values records. A soldier needs food and command. A temple needs labor, offerings, and social authority. So an ancient city was not just a crowd of people. It was a network of roles. That network had to be coordinated. This is where administration becomes important. When goods are stored, moved, taxed, distributed, or offered, someone has to count them. Someone has to record obligations. Someone has to manage labor. Someone has to organize construction, defense, or ritual. In some ancient cities, writing and record-keeping became deeply connected to administration. Clay tablets, seals, accounts, symbols, and official spaces were part of the city's operating system. From the outside, we may notice a wall or temple first. But behind those structures was a more basic question. How does a city keep track of itself? The fifth layer is power. Every large city has to answer a difficult question. Who decides? Who organizes labor? Who controls land? Who protects the city? Who resolves disputes? Who stores grain? Who commands soldiers? Who speaks for the gods? Who collects tribute or tax? Different ancient cities answered these questions in different ways. Some were organized around kings, some around city-states, some around temples, some around councils, priesthoods, elites, or imperial systems. But in many ancient cities, power became visible through architecture. A palace was not just a residence. A temple was not just a sacred building. A wall was not just a defensive structure. A central plaza was not just open space. These places showed how authority was organized. They told people where power was located, where rituals happened, where decisions were made, and where the city's identity was concentrated. This is why ancient cities often placed major religious or political buildings in central or elevated positions. The layout itself could teach people what mattered. The sixth layer is belief. For modern viewers, it is easy to separate religion from government, economy, and daily life. But in many ancient cities, these areas were deeply connected. Temples could be religious centers, but also economic and social centers. Rituals could support political authority. Festivals could unite the population. Sacred spaces could shape the city's calendar, identity, and hierarchy. A temple was not only a place of worship. In many contexts, it was part of the system that organized meaning. It helped answer questions like, who are we? Who protects this city? What does order look like? What do we owe to the divine, to the ruler, or to the community? This does not mean every ancient city worked the same way, but it does mean that belief was often not a small private matter. It was part of the public structure of the city. So when we see a temple ruin, we should not only think of religion. We should also think of labor, offerings, administration, identity, and social order. The seventh layer is defense. A city concentrated people, food, goods, tools, wealth, and authority. That made it valuable. And because it was valuable, it had to be protected. Walls, gates, towers, moats, elevated locations, and strategic geography were all ways of managing risk. But defense was not only about stopping an enemy. It was also about defining the city. The walls separated inside from outside. It marked who belonged, where authority began, where goods were controlled, and where danger was expected. A city without protection could be vulnerable, but a city with strong defenses could become a regional power. Still, walls also reveal something important. Ancient cities were not peaceful objects sitting in isolation. They existed in worlds of competition, pressure, alliance, trade, and sometimes conflict. Defense was part of the system because the city had something worth defending. The final layer is daily life. It is easy to focus only on rulers, temples, walls, and trade. But a city was also lived from the ground level. People cooked, worked, repaired tools, raised children, carried water, bought goods, made offerings, walked through narrow streets, passed through gates, heard animals, smelled smoke, and followed routines shaped by the city around them. The city was not just a political structure. It was an everyday environment. A person's life might be shaped by where they lived, what work they did, which gate they used, which market they visited, which temple they served, and how close they were to water, storage, or authority. This is where the system becomes human. Every ancient city was built from practical needs, but it was experienced as daily life. That is why ruins can be misleading if we look at them too quickly. A ruined wall tells us there was defense. A canal tells us there was water management. A storage area tells us there was food control. A market space tells us goods moved. A temple tells us belief and authority mattered. A road tells us people, animals, and materials passed through. The visible remains are only the surface. The deeper story is the system that once made those remains useful. So the next time we look at an ancient city, it helps to ask better questions. Not only how old is it, but what did it need to survive? Where did its food come from? How did water move? What goods entered and left? Who organized labor? Where was power located? What role did belief play? How was the city protected? And how did ordinary people live inside that structure? Once we ask those questions, an ancient city becomes much more than ruins. It becomes a working model of early civilization. A place where human beings learned to concentrate resources, organize labor, manage risk, create identity, and build systems larger than any one household. That is the hidden meaning of ancient cities. They were not only places on a map. They were systems that turned survival into society.